Hi, I'm Robbin Miller. This is my first show back since March of 2020 without wearing this. And I'm so glad to be back because doing it on Zoom could be fun, but you miss that personal touch and opportunity to be with other people and also to be in a space where you feel more comfortable doing a show. You don't have to worry about distractions from your house. You're in the studio and you can focus. So, I'm back. So, I want to welcome Missy Hollenback. She is the chairperson of the Community Preservation Shrewsbury Ballot Committee. That's what it says on Facebook.
Yep.
To talk about the CPA. Welcome.
Thank you. So we've been basically trying to get this together since January, but things have kind of gone all over. So we've been planning this for about 2 years, and I kind of heard about CPA, over the years a lot, and just didn't really pay attention until one of the people who were one of the big fundraisers for the field up at the football for the high school had mentioned that if we had CPA, some of the funding would have been able to be used for some of the irrigation and some of the flood control and things like that. So I started thinking, wait a minute, what is this all about? So when I started really looking into it, I realized that this actually would be perfect for Shrewsbury in so many ways. And then I've got some other members, people who were like-minded, and we formed a committee. And what CPA is, and it's not certified public accountants, it is the Community Preservation Act, which has been around for 20 years. It was signed by Governor Cellucci. And even to this day, it is still supported by the Baker-Polito administration. So what it basically is that if a town votes yes to have community preservation, a 1.5% to 3% surcharge is put on their property tax. And then also there are exemptions. And then once we pass this, we also get state money. And this state money comes from the Registry of Deeds. We all pay a fee when we buy houses, we refinance, that kind of thing. And again, the Baker-Polito administration supports this, is that they actually increase the fees to provide more monies to the town. So it's really nice to see that we're getting, a lot of support all over the front for this. So the other thing is that this money, the CPA money, can only be used for 4 things. It can be used for open space, or green spaces, parks and recreation. It can be used for historical preservation, whether it be buildings, cemeteries, digitizing documents, and it can be used for affordable housing. I've talked to the director for the Central Mass Habitat for Humanity, and this is where most of their building projects come from. The communities that have CPA work very closely with them, and it's a really nice synergy between the two groups. So it's another way that we can help add affordable housing to our 40B housing stock, help a family, get the community involved, and let Habitat really do a lot of the legwork and lifting and organizing it all. So it's a really nice fit with that.
Regarding the historical preservation, there's a thing in Massachusetts about what is really preserving historical buildings, because they argue about not having to do handicap access. But the state law, which is more stringent than the federal law for access, says no.
Yeah.
Is that part of that? Would that make an historical place accessible with that funding?
So yes, so that is one of the really awesome, another one of the things I love. When I think of the Community Preservation Act, the word community really sticks out. It really encompasses everybody. And what it does is it allows for ADA accessibility and compliance in historical buildings particularly, and in parks and recreation and anything like that. So yes, that is a very big component of it. And then CPA, when we also kind of think about just things, but sometimes it's studies that need to be done. Maybe before they can actually make it accessible, they have to do a big historical study and engineering study, and the CPA would also pay for that as well. So yes, that is something that could definitely be covered, and many towns have done that.
Oh.
So it's a nice thing to add on as well. And the other thing is with the CPA is we just don't say, hey, we want to do this once we pass it. There actually is a committee that is formed. It's appointed by various, some are required, and then there are some members at large. And then what people have to do, it could be a group, it could be a PTO. Let's say I know Floral has some playground issues right now.
Yeah.
They could write an application. The board, the CPC board would look at it and say, yes, this is something that's suitable. Then it would go to town meeting, and then town meeting would vote on it. So it's not just writing a blank check for whatever project. There are a number of criteria that groups need to go for. So like in the particular case of Floral, I know they're looking at replacing a part that's $15,000 or a section that's $40,000.
Really?
So, we're looking at some very expensive, playgrounds are hugely expensive, particularly when you're looking at a playground that's almost 20 years old, finding that part for that type of thing. So, a lot of, these playgrounds, and Beale coming up, things like that. So, and Dean Park's really,
Another issue.
playground is at its end of its lifetime, and that money was raised by parents. So, again, this is something that it could be used for.
Well, I'm an advocate. And when they
Yes.
were building Dean Park in 2005, they were put to the test to say you need to make it accessible. And they said, nope. And when it was brought across to their attention at the disability Commission on Disabilities meeting, I remember a parent had a child who was a wheelchair user, and they said, well, sorry,
Yep.
it won't be for everyone.
Yep. It really comes down to money. And this is the nice thing, it's providing funding for these things in our town that we really want to make us more of a community. So it is things like ADA, it is affordable housing, it's just our green spaces. We were talking a little bit before the camera started about in the pandemic. We all of a sudden discovered, and people like crazy were looking for trails nearby and ways that we could get out to be, so not stuck in our houses. But as every time that those green spaces go away, there's less opportunity. And we're right on the border of the second largest city in New England. So, we really need to fight to preserve our open spaces. And again, that comes down to funding.
Yeah, I was telling you before the show how I went on the rail trail. Beautiful trail. I've never been on it. It goes to Holden. We only went halfway. When it gets cooler, I'll probably make it to Holden. But yes, I had to go out of Holden. I went to Northborough. Northborough has that loop that goes to Berlin, but then they have another one next to it. And yeah, and when we take drives, we don't, I've been to the Jordan Pond, but it's tiny.
Yep.
So yes, I have to say that you have to go out of Shrewsbury to get really bang for the buck.
So, and it's funny you should mention Northborough, because Northborough is one of those towns, I actually have the database here, it's multiple pages long, but Northborough has had the Community Preservation Act for 14 years. And so they've been really able, over 14 years, to kind of save up money for things and to build things, including their trails.
Yeah.
So, it's really, you can see the town differences. Many of our residents, particularly parents, notice the difference between their Parks and Rec in Northborough, all the programming that they have, the splash park, and, all the different things. And they're like, well, how come we don't have that? Well, it comes down to funding. Most of the other thing with the CPA is that the money, it has to be allocated in a certain way. So 10% of the money that we bring in has to go to it has to go to historical preservation, 10% has to go to open space, 10% has to go to affordable housing, and then 5% has to go for administrative fees. So, because there's a lot of paperwork and things like that behind the scenes, so it covers that cost too. And then the rest can actually go to Parks and Rec. So, we're behind the 8 ball with our parks. We need a lot of work with our fields, with drainage and reseeding. It's just not, grass. There's a lot of under treatment that really needs to go into it to make a field safe. And when we come down to the money part, we're going to have some charts here that you'll be seeing the chart and how much money it's going to be costing the average homeowner. The average homeowner will be paying about $50, less than $50. The average home in Shrewsbury is about $475,000. So that would be working out our 1% that we've asked comes out to less than $50 per person. The other thing that we've asked for is, we try to really go modest with what we're with the voters. So we've also requested that those of low and moderate income seniors, they can be exempt. And then we also have asked that those of low income families can also be exempt as well. So we don't want to really hurt the people that we're trying to help. So this is one of the really nice things about this. This was really designed really well for people.
Yeah.
But what we figure is even with those exemptions, is that we're going to be bringing in $500,000 to $600,000 that can just be used on those 4 things, and on top of it, we're going to be getting state money as well, money that years we've been paying into when we go to the Registry of Deeds that go to Northborough, or another town that has CPA for well over a decade is Grafton. So 2 towns on the side of us have it already, and rumor has it that Westboro is going to be thinking about it for next year. So towns are really starting to think a lot about this. And if you look at the chart that we have up there now, you'll see that that over half the communities in Massachusetts will have community preservation at this moment. And the other great thing is 9 communities in the middle of a pandemic are going to be putting Community Preservation Act on their ballot. And these are not all wealthy communities. We have Framingham, Franklin, who I always consider a twin to Shrewsbury in many ways,
Yes.
Greenfield, so there's a lot of, and then there's a few other smaller towns, but it's interesting that they're kind of all over.
Well, pandemic taught us that, and it can happen anytime. We learned it can happen not in our generation, well, it already is happening, but in the future generations, that when
Yeah.
you're locked down, you need to get out of the house if you're able to, of course, and if the weather's good. And that's why we see more people out,
Yes,
right? Like the rail trail. I didn't wear the mask because there were people 6 feet apart,
exactly.
unless they have a health condition. And I believe, doesn't West Boylston have CPA?
I can't remember. Yeah, yes, no, I apologize, I always confuse the Boylstons.
Right, okay.
One of the Boylstons has it.
Okay.
But I know Hudson has it, and they are part of the rail trail.
Yes.
So one of the things, there are projects for trails out there as well. And the other really amazing thing with this is that, if there's some really big project or a big plot of land that we want to buy, we can work with conservancy groups to do some type of funding and stuff with this, because, the mechanism is there. The other thing is that I'm finding out that I didn't know is that in Shrewsbury, we actually have land that is in conservancy. The Broken Creek Vineyard, which is going up for sale,
Yes.
that is actually in conservancy with the Sudbury Valley trustees.
Oh.
So, that property has some deed restrictions on it. So it's going to be kind of hard to sell. So, but it's nice that it is protected out there. So we do have some options with that.
So, I know, it sounds so good to be true.
I'm sorry, say that again?
I said, it sounds really good.
It really is, we think a win-win for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
It's been around for 20 years, and we've been planning this for 2 years. So, we've been approached the town manager, the way to go. We've approached the selectmen a long time ago, future selectmen running for office, to kind of let everyone know we were doing this, so that they could kind of plan on it. We've gotten the list of what the needs are from the Parks and Rec already.
Oh, what are they?
Yeah, what they've spent in the past, and what some of the issues are. But the weed control is like going to be $48,000 for Lake Consigament. So the other, I think a nice thing, Mr. Tartaglia has said it was a bad thing at town meeting, but one of the things is that if we have this money for Parks and Rec projects, and they're currently in the budget, municipal budget, to have those things, that does free up that money to go to other things. So it could go to schools, it could go to the senior center, it could go to, police, fire, whatever. So it does free up municipal funds for other projects, and it enhances what we can already do.
Well, obviously, the opposition would be fear, my taxes are going up.
Yep.
But if you are a homeowner, you get deducted.
Yep.
That's what people don't realize. And whatever other projects go on in town, whatever that is, this is not about competing against them.
No.
This is a totally separate issue that is much needed. The other projects are the voters will decide. You're not against anybody, and you're not whatever.
No.
And open land benefits everybody. it could be used for, in the rail trail, part of it, they have the fire department training there. So wouldn't it be nice if we had open land, and then the police department and fire department can use part of the land for training?
Yep.
So it's a win-win.
Yep. And the other thing is CPA has paid for cameras, lighting at parks. That would again help the policing situations. The other thing is with, when you mentioned the open space, is it's just not the recreation for us, but it is a health matter, in that it also protects our watershed. So we know all about our water problems in Shrewsbury, and people are starting to be a little more aware of watersheds. So that is one of the other things too, is that we can purchase land and preserve it so that, we can preserve our watershed and our drinking water. So it's also that aspect as well. And then the other thing is, again, I want to mention is that a lot of times it funds studies. So when we bought the Allen project, I don't think a lot of us knew about the wetlands, but we now are able to actually fund very expensive studies and surveys to see what can and should be done. So it does that as well. So it's not just those, buy a piece of land, but you can actually do it with the smart way. And the other nice thing is that our town manager, Kevin Mizikar, has actually worked in previous towns who have had CPA. So he knows what to do with it. If it passes, he knows what to do with it behind the scenes to make it happen.
Yeah, well, the thing is, you're doing a great thing. You got it on the ballot.
Thank you.
And to your credit, and the people can vote at home, right, and send it in, whatever that's going to come out.
Yep.
X, Y, and Z, because we got a big presidential election, people are going to vote.
Yep.
And whether they have these on or at their home, it would be sanitized, it would be clean. So, in terms of looking at this, do we have any priorities? In terms of priorities, if this was to pass,
Yeah.
what would be the top 4 projects do you know of?
We're a committee that's just trying to get this on the ballot. We can't really say what that is because, again, it has to be approved by the committee, then it has to be voted on by town meeting. But my personal feeling is that the open space is an issue because once that's gone, it's gone. So I really feel that is a big issue. And then also our parks. I mean, we really need to upgrade them. We've again seen, how this really impacts us. It's a safety issue in some cases. Not only do we need to enhance our parks, but we need to bring them back up because they've been kind of slowly degrading. Not to any of the, the Parks and Rec department. They're great. They're fantastic people. I love them. And they work very hard with very little. But with more money, and they'll be able to do and take care of more things with that, and then enhance them.
And a dog park. A dog park.
A dog park, yes. So that is again. So if one at the end of the show, we're going to have some website information. One is our website, so how you can get involved with community preservation. The other one is how you can look at what other towns in Massachusetts have done with their dollars, and it's amazing. It's just, just to go to see there, you kind of get excited like what we could do in Shrewsbury. But dog parks are becoming very common and popular with a lot of communities of what they're doing. So again, they do a study to see, what's the right land, and then acquiring it, and all that kind of thing. So that's something they can do. There's some exciting projects the director of Habitat was telling me about in Northborough. And even in Holliston, that they've taken older buildings that were historical and rehab them into housing for low-income families. So, it's not only saving historical space, but it's providing low-income housing. So it's just a really nice win for everybody. But seriously, to go onto that page and your eyes just boggle what possibilities there are.
Well, my suggestion is while you do your campaigning, to show what the other towns have done, because people want to see concrete stuff. Yeah. And that's what people need. People need to be convinced. People are very visual today, and even the people who are not visual, they can hear it.
Yep.
And figure out a way to learn on social media.
Yes.
In terms of that. So the question is, if you ask for volunteers, they're not going to be able to go door to door like they did for Beale.
Exactly.
What's going to be the new strategy?
So we've played around with different strategies, and it really again comes down to money. So we'll be doing the typical lawn signs. We ask people, if you support it, to definitely write a letter to the editor. Talk to your friends and neighbors, get educated. And then the other thing is we will actually be doing some door tags. So we won't be talking to anybody, but we'll just be putting information on people's doors. Because anymore it's very difficult, even in normal times, to communicate with everybody. Because social media did not take away anything else, but to get information. So we're still doing social media. We're going to be putting people on people's doors. We'll be doing shows here, and I'm trying to think what else. So a few other things. So
Will you be on the streets on the weekend?
I'm sorry.
Are you going to be having signs
Yeah,
on the
we
weekend?
will be doing signs. We're just in the process of getting that now. We'll probably have those in a few weeks, so there'll be signs getting out there as well, and his yard signs as well. And on our website, you can go up and sign in for any volunteer opportunities or for money, whatever works with your household. But we do need a lot of help, a lot of people for this, because I think a lot of people want to see that other people support it as well.
And then they want to see the tangibles.
I'm sorry, say that again?
Tangibles. They want to see what has been done.
Exactly.
I mean, our neighbors Grafton, Northborough, and it's just time. We need to get off this.
Yes.
For some of us, get off the keister, get up or wheel out, whatever your mode of transportation is.
Yes.
And get out and get fresh air. I think the pandemic has taught us that fresh air helps.
And we really are.
If you're able to, yeah.
We're appreciating the fresh air. And the other thing is, when you said if you're able to, as Shrewsbury is getting older, like most of the towns in Massachusetts, is, some of our parks need to be revamped a little bit to accommodate our seniors. I'll be in that category in that 10 years. So, so it's really, encompassing the entire community gardens. There's some sidewalking that can be done in various places, Prospect Park. There's just so many opportunities, fixing bandstands, gazebos, it's just amazing what can be done across the board with it. But I think right now, probably in Shrewsbury, our biggest concerns are probably protecting our open space and our parks and rec.
And housing.
Yes.
Because we're still below the threshold, and like Jason said on the town meeting, you want to have a set, you want to have control about what comes in, as opposed to bypassing, going to the state to bypass the town, if you're below 10%.
Yeah.
But the thing is that there will be there'll be fear mongers on this.
Yep.
And people have to know that you're entitled to your opinion.
Yep.
But, if you really want to, what we learned from the pandemic, that you have to spend a little money to have a high quality of life too. Even if you don't have it, the point is that you can, if the government puts the resources in their communities, then everybody benefits.
Yes.
And that's really important.
Yep.
Because, sometimes when you have these pandemic plagues, sometimes they make you look at life a little differently now.
And that's exactly, I think, what's happening. And the other thing is that we all need to, you and I live in a house and we have a lawn, but there are a lot of apartment complexes in Shrewsbury now, and they don't have those resources. No. And that's why a lot of people are fleeing the cities for the suburbs. Again, that makes it a little more concerning that we have more people leaving Boston that want to come to the suburbs. With our open space, it could be gone even faster. So we really do need to protect what we have for our people that are here, and just for our future. I mean, then there's also, don't even get me going with climate change, but having open space really provides a lot of benefits with, flooding issues and, air quality and so many other issues that, it really is a benefit as well.
Now, this committee will be volunteers or paid?
Say that again, please.
The committee that would be formed if
Yeah, the committees were all volunteer.
Okay.
Working a lot. But it's kind of cool that we have people from different niches. So Jason Molina and I are kind of heading it up. We kind of have the campaigning experience. Martha Gatch, who is an educator at Mass Audubon in Broadmeadow Brook. Also a town meeting member now, and she's also on our conservation committee in Shrewsbury. We have Gail Aslanian, who is in the garden club, and she's also on the historic commission as well. We have Paul Schwab, who's also with the historic commission. We have Kathy McSweeney, who is on the public housing committee, Shrewsbury Housing Authority, excuse me. So she brings in that aspect of information about that. And then, Melanie McGee, who is on the Trails Committee. And she lived in Northborough for quite a while, so she really knows how many wonderful things they've been able to do in Northborough with their CPA money. And I'm trying to think, I probably forgot somebody, but I apologize for
You have a strong, well, the thing is, you have a strong committee of people.
Say that again, sir?
You have a strong committee
Yes.
of volunteers.
Yep.
And maybe the library can get involved. I mean, they're not open fully, but, you
Yeah.
know, maybe they could put out resources and,
Yep.
you know, they could do program ideas on Zoom. Because people who are home, like me, I mean, I'm working, of course, but, you know, raising a son. But, you know, I watch more YouTube on the public channel than I do commercial, because
Yes.
I'm not interested.
Yeah.
I've
So,
been watching a lot of town stuff.
Yeah. So yeah, we've talked, about environmental issues with our new librarian, so she's, very keen on that. But the other thing is, it's funny you should mention the library, because one of the projects that they did in the pandemic is they created a story walk
Yes.
with our author April Prince on the Lake Street Park, which is a fabulous idea, and we can be doing more of that kind of thing as well.
Definitely.
Just not for children, but for adults as well, anybody. So again, it's just a nice way of the library reaching outside its, brick and mortar building for the outside.
Well, we have less than a minute, so just give a website and a phone number.
Say that again, I'm sorry.
Oh, just a website and a phone number. We have less than a minute
Yeah,
left.
so we're going to have this at the end of the show, so you can have our website. And one is our website, so you can find out information specifically for Shrewsbury. And then the other one is the Community Preservation Alliance, and that is the one that covers all of Massachusetts. So you can, if you're in numbers and a data wonk, you can look at everything you want. But what I like to do is just look at the success stories of the different categories in the towns, and they have photos, and it's just so inspiring what we can do in town.
Well, I thank you very much,
Thank
Missy
you.
Hollenback, Chairperson of Community Preservation Shrewsbury Ballot Committee. Thank you for coming on my
Thank
show.
you. Thank you.
And I hope people watch this. If you have any questions, you can contact Missy and her board.
Great. Thank you.
Good night.
Thank you.